for the first time in what feels like a long time, we got a chapter of Majulo that was not majorly focused on combat. And honestly, that's probably for the best considering what Majulo is trying to pull off right now. However, that does not mean that Chapter 22 is completely without combat. In fact, it's got one of the cooler fight sequences we've gotten in maybe all of Majulo. For that matter, maybe all of JJK. And also, simultaneously, one of the more satisfying moments in all of JJK. But there's a fair or decent chance that even if you have read the leaks prior to watching this video, you may not understand exactly what happened in Chapter 22. As Maru and Yuji's plan to eradicate cursed energy from the entire Japanese populace is getting into the weeds a little bit here. But fortunately, it is literally my job to make the works of Gege Akutami a little bit less confusing, and thus today, that's exactly what we're going to be doing. And thus, without further ado, let's head directly into Chapter 22 of Majulo Explained. But before we get to explaining anything, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And if you're looking for one additional Nick video every single week, guys, you can go ahead and find my Naruto reaction series using the fourth wall link in my description below. We are finally getting to the final fights of the Chunin exam. So, Chapter 22 picks up exactly where Chapter 21 left off. That is to say, with Mahito sitting very nervously between Maru and Yuji. And the situation hasn't gotten any better for Mahito over the course of the last week. See, because even though Mahito is dead and currently existing in some kind of way station for souls that's basically Jujutsu Limbo, it seems as though whatever Yuji and Maru have planned for Mahito is worse than Jujutsu Limbo. But what exactly are they planning? Well, let's get into it. The Chapter 22 kicks off with Yuji giving the reader some exposition out loud by saying, more or less, I get what you want to do, you referring to Maru, and how you want to do it. Using the Muru that created the mothership that the Cimmerians came on in. Muru, for those of you who don't remember, is high-density curse energy ore that was mined all the way back on Cimmeria that Maru and Cross used to create the Cimmerian mothership that brought them to Earth. Anyways, moving on, Yuji says, so you want to use the Muru and Yuta's cursed energy, because Yuta had been pouring cursed energy into Yuta's ring every single day because he had an overabundance of cursed energy, and his best way to funnel that cursed energy in a useful way was to pour it into an object, which is why he always imbued a katana with cursed energy. However, if he wasn't fighting against anybody, he didn't need to imbue a katana with cursed energy, so he imbued it into his ring. Yuji then comes to the conclusion that Maru will use the Muru and Yuta's cursed energy to change the souls of the entire Japanese populace so that cursed spirits are no longer born. But Yuji asks Maru immediately after this if he really thinks he'll be able to do it. To which Maru simply responds, yes, but only if you permit it. Yuji then looks down at the sweating Mahito sitting at both of their feet, and with a cold stare says, he isn't the type to follow orders. And thus Maru, in an equally cold and calculated tone, says, well, yes, so subjugation would be necessary. Now this intrigues Itadori as he says, subjugation, huh? To which Maru responds by saying, should I do it? But Yuji, who's been looking forward to this moment for 70 unironic years, says, nah, it's fine. I'll do it. My only worry is if I'll kill him accidentally. After all, if he dies, we can't use him anymore, right? To which Maru, rather concerningly, at least for Mahito, responds to with, don't worry, this is the path of the souls. You and me are the only people here with physical bodies. No one else can die. All that can happen to anybody else is subjugation and enslavement. So go wild to your heart's content. And it's this point that Yuji just gets downright disrespectful as he kneels down next to Mahito and goes, you heard him. You want to tear this place up? But before Mahito can give Yuji an answer, he swipes at him with his hand, which we know is instant death. All Mahito needs in order to channel his idol transfiguration into somebody else's physical contact. And once he comes in contact with somebody's physical body, he can augment their soul, changing their shape, killing them instantly. But Yuji just simply bounces out of the range of Mahito's wild slash. But the wild slash seemingly lands on the backdrop behind Mahito, as the blackness that surrounded Mahito, that Maru had to parse through in order to find him in the first place, immediately fades away and turns in.
When a shopping cart smashed my headlight, we worried we'd have to fight to get paid for such a small claim.
And life would revolve around the shopping cart.
To Shibuya, also known as the last place that Yuji and Mahito fought, because because after all, it was at the end of the Shibuya incident that Mahito transformed into his perfect form, and after killing Nanami, popping one of Nobura's eyes, and stealing one of Todo's hands, eventually while running away from Yuji, Mahito was consumed by Kenjaku. Now it appears as though Mahito wants to run it back, and Yuji notices this as he stares around and goes, huh, Shibuya. While Yuji is sightseeing, Mahito slams his hands onto the ground, and the entire terrain begins to shift. While screaming at Yuji, if you're the one with a physical body, that means you're the only one who can die, which means I get to go wild. And in this moment, piranha-like tendrils fire out of all of the adjacent buildings and lunge towards Yuji, smashing him into a ball of debris. And it's this moment that becomes abundantly clear that for some reason, Mahito seems to have control over the terrain. And as Yuji is smashed into this debris, Mahito says, idle transfiguration. Now, it's this point that Mahito tells us, in his own mind, that this entire place, this entire subspace, this path of the souls, is constructed with a composition similar to that of a soul. And therefore, since Mahito's attacks allow for him to change the shape of souls, technically everything within this realm is a target of Mahito's technique. That is to say that Mahito is able to control everything in this universe. The shapes of the building, the terrain, the sky, everything. And thus Mahito, bolstered by this idea, tells Yuji, I'll destroy everything about you, starting with your unaging face. And it's at this moment we see Mahito open his mouth, and rather concerningly, from his mouth has sprouted a tongue with 2 arms, doing his domain expansion hand sign. And thus Mahito, after already smashing Yuji into a ball of debris, opens his domain with hopes that now that Yuji will fall into his domain, he'll be able to touch his soul, transfigure it, and kill him. But before Mahito can finish saying domain expansion, true embodiment of perfection, on the next page we see all of Mahito's fingers and his tongue with its 2 arms laying on the ground, covered in blood. And before Mahito can even begin to understand what happened to him, as he looks up, unable to say words on account of the fact that his tongue is on the ground, we are served to what I believe to be top 5 double spreads in JJK history, as we see Yuji still with his hands in his pocket at the center of debris that Mahito had smashed around him, but all of the debris and everything in 360 degrees, Mahito, very much included, has been cued. See, the debris never touched Yuji, and Mahito wasn't able to open his domain because Yuji simply flicked a slashing attack on him that cut off his fingers and tongue. But in order to end this fight quickly and to free himself from the debris prison that Mahito believed he buried Yuji in, Yuji seemingly launched his dismantle in all directions, slashing the debris around him, the piranha-like tendrils that Mahito was controlling, the buildings adjacent to him, and more importantly than anything, Mahito, as Mahito falls into more cubes than Buggy fighting against Mihawk. I mean, he looks like how the Straw Hats found Kinemon on Punk Hazard. It's not good. Even his hair, which was flowing up into the air, gets sliced by Yuji's all-encompassing dismantle. And one of the piranha-like tendrils that was coming out from basically between Mahito's legs, like that's how it looks from the perspective of the camera, also gets diced. And look, I can't help but feel like this was intentional, because it looks like Mahito's, well, you know, unit was obliterated. Yuji immediately then closes the distance between himself and Mahito before Mahito can even truly conceptualize what happened to him, and does the only thing that could possibly disrespect him worse than giving him the title of Kashimo's waffled one by saying, hey, are you always this weak? And like, listen, this result should not surprise us. Like, obviously, yes, Mahito was fighting in his ideal circumstance, a place where literally everything around him resembled a soul, and therefore literally everything around him could be controlled like a soul. But Yuji, pre-training in blood control, pre-fight against Sukuna, pre-mastering the Black Flash, defeated Mahito. And while he defeated Mahito with the help of Todo, it's been a couple of big fights in 70 years since that moment, and Mahito hasn't exactly gotten stronger. This was a foregone conclusion, and this foregone conclusion continues with Yuji using his thumb to pop out the center section of Mahito's head and frisbee it over to Maru, who catches it. And as he looks down at Mahito, he says, sorry, but I'll be using you. As he immediately breaks down what's left of Mahito into cursed energy. Now, this is kind of ironic on account of the fact that the reason that Mahito was in the pathway of souls in the first place is because he was killed and used for his cursed technique by Kenjaku, and now even in the pathway of souls, essentially the exact same thing is happening. And considering the fact that Maru and Yuji are just about to make sure that cursed spirits never reincarnate again on Earth, with Mahito's soul now being subjugated into the path of souls and being broken down into cursed energy to be used to get rid of cursed spirits, that's probably perma raps for Mahito. But even though now it's perma raps for one of his forever ups, Yuji seems pensive. And thus Maru asks him, what's the matter? Yuji answers with, well, he seemed powerful. Do you think he was messing with my comrades who have already passed? But Maru assures Yuji that Mahito didn't have the ability to mess with anybody who had already died or was in the active process of dying. But Yuji rather aptly said, but wait, that's literally how his curse technique works. If somebody's soul was here, Mahito would be able to mess with their soul. That's why we need him in the first place. Or if their soul was simply passing through here on their way to somewhere else, there's a fair decent chance that Mahito could have messed with them. That's why we're here in the pathway of souls. But once again, Maru assures Yuji, saying, well, the only reason that he seemed so powerful right now is because of my technique, which let him regain his strength if only for a little bit. But in actuality, he barely had any cursed energy left. He couldn't mess with anybody else's soul. Now, that's a bit of information that probably confuses a fair amount of you, and honestly, fair, because why would Maru's cursed technique allow for Mahito to get additional strength? And while there isn't really a concrete answer to explain how Maru's cursed technique would affect Mahito's strength at all, the most likely explanation is that in order to make it fair for Mahito to participate in the subjugation ritual, Mahito is allowed to have his cursed energy amped. Kind of like a binding vow situation. And honestly, this would not only fit within the confines of the rules of Jujutsu, but would also be advantageous for Maru and Yuji. See, because in the hypothetical circumstance where Maru amps Mahito's cursed energy to make it fair for him to participate in the subjugation ritual, kind of like how Kenjaku had to build outs into the culling games in order to allow the culling games to happen in the first place. Like the culling game barriers wouldn't have been able to be erected if Kenjaku didn't give the people that were in the erected barriers at the time they were erected the chance to leave, because Jujutsu is kind of all about give and take. And therefore, in order for Mahito to participate in the subjugation ritual, there's a possibility that Maru had to amp his cursed energy to make it fair. And if that is the case, that would not only be advantageous for the sake of making the ritual work, but also be advantageous for Maru and Yuji, because it would mean that the cursed energy that Mahito would break down into would be stronger and therefore more effective on the entire population of Japan. Now, there's also the possibility that it is something to do with Maru's chaos and order curse technique. Like, in order to amplify the order, that's going to be brought to Japan through the medium of changing all of their bodies so they no longer produce cursed energy, there's a give and take where Maru had to make one of the components of essentially that spell more chaotic through the medium of making Mahito stronger. Now, I can't say concretely if either of these theories are correct, and we'll probably never get any more information about why Mahito was stronger, but hopefully that helps some of your confusion. Now, the reason that I say that we'll probably never get more information about why Mahito got amped by Maru is because Yuji kind of immediately laughs it off and goes, oh wow, you really know everything, don't you? To which Maru says, I only know because I'm here right now. Referring to the Path of Souls. Like, him entering the Path of Souls gave him some kind of connection to a higher level of knowledge that's allowed for him to figure out things that otherwise he wouldn't have known. And on the next page, we see Maru telling Yuji, don't worry, listen, you've given me everything I could possibly need. And it's this moment that we see that, rather interestingly, Maru and Yuji seem to be in some kind of child's room. And in a child's kind of play wagon, they put Muru, the high-density cursed energy or a Mahito Labubu, Yuki/Chozo's journal, and Yuta's ring. Now, each one of these components is essential. Yuta/Rika's ring is a massive source of cursed energy that could be used to launch a nationwide attack. The high purity Muru that was used to make the mothership that brought the Sumerians here amplifies cursed energy that runs through it. Yuki/Chozo's journal details about the separation between the soul and the body and humanity. and the Mahito Labubu gives them the idol transfiguration to change the composition of all of Japan's bodies. It's good soup, and also looks probably exactly like what an Etsy witch's cauldron looks like when you pay her $5 to curse your ex. A straw doll of them, your wedding ring, a scrapbook, and a bunch of crystals. However, before Yuji and Maru can cast testicular torsion on the entirety of Japan's populace, cursed energy, like piss, is stored in the balls. Maru asks, before we get started, I want to ask one final question about Earth's Kalyan, or as you call them, the cursed spirits. And thus Yuji gives us the incredibly standard boilerplate rundown on how cursed spirits are made, which is this say the cursed spirits are made when negative energy leaks from humans and forms like sediment that eventually takes shape as cursed spirits, and this phenomenon happens almost exclusively in Japan. However, it gets interesting when Yuji uses this information to dive into the two possibilities that he and Maru have in order to eradicate cursed spirits. As Yuji says, in order to create a world where there are no cursed spirits, we have to either A, remove cursed energy from everyone, or B, give everyone cursed energy and turn them into a sorcerer. But Maru chimes into this moment and says, okay, but in regards to that second option, a sorcerer's cursed energy circulates in their own body, right? If that's the case, then because they actively expend it, they leak less cursed energy than your average person.
An IQ of 85 to 115 is considered average in the US.
Right? And Yuji confirms that he is correct. But immediately after confirming this, Yuji thinks to himself, oh, so that's what the super secret contents of Yuki's notebook say? That's convenient, I guess. Which seems to tell us two things. A, Yuji either can't read or just decided to never read Chozo's journal. And B, the second that Yuji handed over that journal to Maru, all of the information inside of that journal was zapped into his brain. I personally like the idea that Yuji can't read, and I will be actively rereading JJK to try and prove that point. Now the conversation continues on, as it's going to until the end of this chapter, as Yuji tells Maru, but I don't think option 2 is what we need. That is to say, he doesn't believe that the entirety of Japan's population needs to be turned into sorcerers, which, mind you, is what Geto and kind of Yuki wanted to accomplish. See, because if we turn the entire population of Japan into sorcerers, then the damage that's caused by cursed spirits will probably just be replaced by cursed users. Essentially, they'd be making a super-powered society, and that would not only lead to essentially My Hero Academia, but it would also undoubtedly create a massive amount of tension between Japan and the rest of the world, as now the majority of the Japanese population is not only immune to bullets, but also can use invisible sorcery, which would just immediately make Japan the most powerful country on Earth and also #1 on pretty much everyone's shit list. However, stripping everybody in Japan of their cursed energy also isn't a great idea, because there's a fair decent chance that the second that everybody in Japan is stripped of their cursed energy, a bunch of Toji/Maki Zenins will be born. At which point Maru points out, and we can't rule out whether or not a lot of them will end up evil either. And yeah, man, if I could run at several hundred miles an hour and knock down entire buildings with a swing of a fist, I'd probably rob Fort Knox. It'd be like the first thing I did. Now, Yuji rather aptly points out, however, that people like that will only be born if they were already going to have a large cursed energy capacity. See, because heavenly restriction is about stripping yourself of a high amount of cursed energy. And only if and when you strip yourself of this high amount of potential cursed energy are you able to achieve the highest level of heavenly restriction, the level that Toji and Maki have. So while yes, a couple of low-level heavenly restrictions users will probably appear. It's highly unlikely that all of Japan will turn into Toji and Maki all of a sudden, though undoubtedly some will appear. And thus it doesn't seem as though there's really a great option, but stripping all of Japan of their cursed energy is probably the better of two bad options. And at this point that Maru and Yuji sit down, and as Yuji's sitting down, he goes, hey, it's kind of awkward to ask this, but you teleported me here against my will and never really gave me the chance to ask your name, so who exactly are you? At which point Maru goes, yes, sorry, what was I, raised on a mothership? Maru. So Yuji responds saying, thanks Maru, so yeah, what are we gonna do? To which Maru responds by saying, well, atone. See, us Sumerians have caused a lot of problems for Earth. Because of that, at the very least, I want the world to think that the Sumerians coming down to Earth bettered the planet. And once again, I'd like to point out the fact that this entire conversation is seemingly happening inside of a child's room, and I really wish I could tell you why. I just do not know. A child's like whimsy, the fact that this entire plan is childish, that being able to connect with your enemies and try and heal is something that only a child's mind would try to do. I don't know. There's a lot of things you could take from the setting here. Anyways, Yuji says, listen, I got a lot of respect for thinking that way. After all, you are a lot of respect for thinking that what we're about to do is huge and possibly well-meaning. It also robs the future of infinite possibilities. For example, while research into cursed energy has stagnated as of late, which has led to less and less Japanese people being abducted for the source of power that only they had, with aliens now here and Muru now on the planet, research probably would have happening. Are you? As though there's really a great option, but stripping all of Japan of their cursed energy is probably the better of two bad options. And at this point that Maru and Yuji sit down, and as Yuji's sitting down, he goes, hey, it's kind of awkward to ask this, but you teleported me here against my will and never really gave me the chance to ask your name, so who exactly are you? At which point Maru goes, yes, sorry, what was I, raised on a mothership? Maru. So Yuji responds saying, thanks Maru, so yeah, what are we gonna do? To which Maru responds by saying, well, atone. See, us Sumerians have caused a lot of problems for Earth. Because of that, at the very least, I want the world to think that the Sumerians coming down to Earth bettered the planet. And once again, I'd like to point out the fact that this entire conversation is seemingly happening inside of a child's room, and I really wish I could tell you why. I just do not know. A child's like whimsy, the fact that this entire plan is childish, that being able to connect with your enemies and try and heal is something that only a child's mind would try to do. I don't know. There's a lot of things you could take from the setting here. Anyways, Yuji says, listen, I got a lot of respect for thinking that way. After all, you are partially correct. And while what we're about to do is huge and possibly well-meaning, it also robs the future of infinite possibilities. For example, while research into cursed energy has stagnated as of late, which has led to less and less Japanese people being abducted for the source of power that only they had, with aliens now here and Muru now on the planet, research probably would have rapidly advanced. We probably could power the entire Earth on cursed energy. Not to mention that hundreds of years from now, we might tap this planet of all of its possible resources, which could leave cursed energy, an inherently human-made power source, as the only thing to rely on. And we, yes, we are getting rid of that possibility. Top of that, messing with the bodies of an entire population of an entire country without their consent is nothing to be praised. And this catches Maru off guard as he says, but then what do we do? But Yuji, who we finally get a good look of the face of, says, but even with all of that in mind, I'll do it. But Maru, ostensibly the child in this situation, is still scared as he says, but is that really okay? And Yuji doesn't even try to assure him as he says, no, of course not. Of course it's not okay, but I'm still going to do it. But Maru once again asks, why? To which Yuji responds by saying, because I believe it should be done. See, as it stands right now, I'm seemingly gonna live for another at least 300 years. I can take care of it. I can do what needs to be done. And if it comes down to it, I will bear the burden of the punishment. But then Yuji catches himself as he thinks, wait, hold up. If I lose my cursed energy, will I start aging again? At which point Maru takes over as the one doing the assuring as he tells Yuji, don't worry, I'm not gonna mess with the souls of those who are living. I'm only going to change the souls of those who are yet to be born. Otherwise, I'd be changing the lives of hundreds of thousands of people overnight. All of the 50,000 Sumerians who use cursed energy for daily tasks, or all of the sorcerers in Japan who rely on sorcery as their job, would simply have everything about their life stripped from them overnight. But if only the next generation is born without cursed energy, they'll have no idea what life was like with it. And apparently Yuji, who's happy with that answer, goes on to say, then cursed spirits are next. And as Maru is about to dive into what to do with the cursed spirits that exist right now, Yuji cuts him off and says, well, no, listen, even if cursed energy is removed from the Japanese, cursed spirits will still most likely be born, which catches Maru well off guard as he hits a classic Maru triangle mouth face, and the chapter ends with him simply going, eh? But what does Yuji mean by this? I mean, early in the chapter, he literally told us that the phenomena of cursed spirits only exists in Japan, and nowadays it only exists in Tokyo. So if we were to eliminate cursed energy from Japan, then how would cursed spirits still continue to be born? Well, probably just cursed energy from everywhere else. See, it's not a fun answer, but unfortunately it's probably the correct one. See, we know for a fact that sorcerers have come from other places not named Japan. The best example of which being people like Miguel. And not only is Miguel a sorcerer from Africa, but also he comes from a group of people that actively commit their entire life to creating something known as the Black Robe, a cursed tool. And in order to make a cursed tool, you need cursed energy. And therefore, while yes, cursed spirits really only manifest in Japan, cursed energy does exist everywhere else, just on a significantly lessened scale. And therefore, in actuality, what's probably going to be explained next chapter is that while cursed energy is produced everywhere, Japan is some kind of lightning rod for cursed energy that draws in not only the cursed energy of the entire Japanese populace, but the cursed energy of the entire planet. And therefore, while eliminating cursed energy from the Japanese populace would get rid of the vast majority of cursed spirits being born, the lessened cursed energy output of the rest of the planet coming to Japan would still mean that cursed spirits were being born there.
This nigga called me a niglet. Jesus Christ. Race, ethnicity, or religion. How do you allow it? This man called me a niglet. I need to get rid of this auto mod. Let's go ahead and do that. Cut that shit off. So what's happening? So, what's good, Mike? What's good, my boy? I might be on something. See, I'm about to play this in a little bit. Alright, now.
YouTube Premium is ad-free YouTube. And background play, so you can watch videos while
Oda has finally revealed Loki's devil fruit transformation, and of course, Bald's deep prediction was correct, as we witness Loki in his full-on Nidhogg form. And this transformation has just made Loki larger than even Zunisha, because next to him, giant Gear 5 Luffy, the same one who dwarfed the island of Onigashima in Wano, looks puny. However, the bigger confirmation by Oda that everyone has missed is actually the weather changing as Loki shows up, which is a massive hint so far to Loki fighting against the world serpent in the final war and exposing the One Piece. But the one getting exposed in this chapter is Saint Diddy Summers, because this goofball accidentally destroyed the ship that was going to carry the kids back to the Holy Land. Although Summers was the one that batted the Nightmare into the ship, Oda makes it a point to highlight which Nightmare it was, the evil Nika. Even in its Nightmare form, the hidden waves of Haki within reality are still making Nika become the savior. However, as the situation stands, the kids are going to fall and splatter all over the ground. Why does he say that? Why do you need to say splatter all over the ground, bro? This dude is weird. Summers, realizing his fuck up, quickly calls Gunko to let go of her arrows. However, Imu-sama is still inside Gunko, which suggests that Imu back in Marie Joie isn't conscious within his body. He can't simultaneously control 2 or more bodies with his marks. The Save the Kids group of parents have also reached the children and are frantically trying to break through Gunko's arrow and Summer's vines, but they don't succeed. Saint Diddy screams that if there was any way to stop the arrows, then he would have already done so. But then he has a moment of realization. This situation isn't half bad. The parents are trying to protect the kids, but they aren't able to because of his thorns. If he just turns off his thorniness, it could aid in stopping the kids. However, bro does not give a fuck about the kids or Imu's mission. This is a very delicious moment for him. He is legit salivating because technically Imu is inside Gunko and Summers did send a message asking him to stop the arrows, right? So, like, it's not his fault. It's Imu or Gunko's fault that the kids dropped off. If you really think about it, like, if Joy Boy was never defeated, Summers would have never fucked up. So, in a way, it's Joy Boy's fault. Come on, 800 years ago, why did you have to lose so Summers fucks up here, man? So now instead, Bro can enjoy this moment of watching the parents and children screaming in desperate tears. At this point, Saint Diddy has just been promoted to Saint Jeffrey Summers. This is the type of oopsie they spoke of in the files. But it gets worse. Saint Jeff starts a whole announcement saying that he and the Holy Knights had intended to escort the kids safely into the Holy Land. Thank God they were gonna escort them safely, man. I can't even imagine, like, the kids getting hurt, like, couldn't be Summers, bro. But due to a random complication, like who can really figure out what that was, right? I don't even remember what was happening last chapter. The ship and the cloud have just vanished. It was probably the D-Clan members' fault, if I'm being real. You know another person who vanished? Nefertari D. Lily. It was definitely her. So now everyone will die from the fall, which means a tragically hilarious... Sorry, not hilarious. He means a tragically miserable end awaits at the finish line. They can just find more kids in Elbaf after anyways. It's no worries, guys. Why are people even caring about the kids? Like, the world economy is booming, guys, because of Marie Joie.
That's enough. That is enough. Alright. Gotta hop on the old, you gonna hop on the 3rd time, 4th time. You know what I mean? Gotta be warned. I knew this motherfucker did something. 2 seconds, I'm about to beat ass. That's what it smells like in this bitch. Back the fuck up. What is happening? Let's see. You got leaks if you did this shit. I ain't gonna lie. Excuse me. Get to it. Go ahead, get to it. Nigga said I got 1,500. Make sure this shit right. Find it. That battle. Day number 12. Let's hop to it.
New directives are now available. Check the bulletins board immediately.
I ain't doing all that. Alright, what are we up to? Someone kept their entire infected family in the... Sit your ass still. Hold on, yeah. First it starts with an Ann, age around 30. C, center of quarantine.
You are in a quarantine zone. Stay calm and wait for your turn. Remove your outer clothing, hats, glasses, and gloves. Prepare your belongings for inspection.
What is this? Shout out to the cat, alright. I see you got a little pet. We gonna take that at your pay. We ain't gonna yell at you, my boy. Alright, alright. Boy T, Phil in the back. I forgot y'all niggas' name. We got the new recruit. You know this nigga new. Lame man, nigga got his gun ready. Lame man, nigga. Alright, yeah, let's go ahead and call him through. What you want? So I want to talk about something.
Don't make me wait.
Let's just get this over with. Get what over with? Are you okay? What's wrong with you, my boy? Yeah, you probably going to the right, my boy. Hey, watch that shit. Hey, what you got? What you need to get a cat?
Please don't.
All that shit.
I don't need it anymore.
Yeah, you never had
Wait.
it. Yeah, about that. About that. Your pulse is quite high, my boy. Hey, you might not make it through. You might not make it through. We don't need that. What we got going on right there? Let's see, the bikes. Bikes on nothing but Damn, boy. You gonna have to go. Yeah. Let's see. Let me get you going right. Let me see what you. Oh, you mad? Well, you mad? Okay. Talk about
You are in a quarantine zone. Stay calm and wait for your turn. Remove your outer clothing, hats, glasses, and gloves. Prepare your belongings for inspection.
You gonna get some money out you, boy. Hey, T. Hold on, what else?
Identification verified. Unstable. Incident detected.
Hey, T. Hey, show him where his room at. Show him where his room at. You got a new PC.
I'm tired of this.
What are you tired of? Yeah. You got a place, a good bed. A very good bed. I got it.
Move it.
Please, I'm just tired, not sick.
Tired of what? Tired of what? Alright, this might be healthy. Might be healthy. You smart? Can't see past my glasses. Take them shits off, boy. Take them shits off, boy. Jack.
You're robbing me.
Yeah,
Why?
I want that. Hey, you cool, bro. You good people, bro.
I won't let you down. I promise.
Cool people, bro. Welcome to the cab. So A.N. Alright, so A.N. from Ashridge.
Come on.
I didn't do anything wrong, I swear.
Shut your ass up, bitch. Put the eyes up. You get points for sometimes. You sneeze like a hoe.
You are in a quarantine zone. Stay calm and wait for your turn. Remove your outer clothing, hats, glasses, and gloves. Prepare your belongings for inspection.
Alright, I know this nigga's still falling off. Hold on, yeah. You right between there. Chilling, man. You chilling. Let's see what else. Hey, man. Guess you cool. No gas on that bit. I don't see your arm. Sneezing like fuck. Get your arm, my boy. Sick. This nigga sick. This nigga don't even move. He don't feel nothing. Alright. I don't really trust you, bro.
No, you don't understand.
Next survivor.
I don't. This nigga look like the Simpsons. Who are you?
Please, just check. You'll see I'm fine.
What do I want to check? You're sick. You have green skin. Green skin. Yeah, where you going? We're gonna do the test, bro.
You are in a quarantine zone.
You're
Stay
yellow,
calm
though.
and
You're
wait for your
going
turn. Remove your outer
what's your
clothing,
name?
hats,
Matthew
glasses, and
Rogers?
gloves. Prepare your belongings for inspection.
Yeah, you heard the lady on the. You heard the lady. Heard the lady. Pulse. You have no pulse. The fuck? Look at your eyes. Your eyes, my boy. This nigga is over here looking done. I'm gonna give you red eyes. I'll give you that. Yeah. Get him some medicine. We gonna get you right. Hey, T. Get that boy some medicine, man. You know, you fuck around with this nigga. Watch that nigga. Fuck out of here.
Next.
Come on with it, bro. Hey.
Are you sure this area is secure? It doesn't feel secure.
You might not be secure, bruh. You over here asking a lot of questions. I'm gonna get their mans, bro. What are you talking about? I don't feel secure. Got bit. Got bit. You get bit. Alright, you get bit by that. Okay. Okay.
I'll be okay, right? Are you sure?
Oh, nah. Hold up. It's in the quarantine. Nah, we can't do that. I fucked up. You? Alright, where you at? Hey, my boy. You moving. I don't want to use this. They said send him to quarantine. This nigga going to the camp. Hold up, nah, he gotta go. Alright, there better be some type of weapon, man. Alright, yeah, he gotta go. Gotta go. Sorry. Gotta go. Who's on the poster? It's not me.
Come on.
Please, I have children. They're waiting for me.
Mm-hmm. You look like you've been huffing, my girl. You look like you've been huffing. Where you got bit at? Where'd you get bit? We know. We know. All that sneezing and fighting for your life. Yeah, where you got bit? Hmm? Gotta go. Hate to hit you with it, shorty, but you're too sick. You're too sick.
So where am I going now?
Right somewhere you need to be. Give me my money.
Next survivor.
I just need to get to the safe zone. My family is waiting for me.
You need to get to the nearest tub of
your outer clothing.
anti-burn cream. Like, are you serious?
Prepare your belongings for inspection.
I don't know what we can do with you. Yeah, she's red as a motherfucker. Stand still. Red. I mean, she get bit. She ain't got bit. Ooh, what's that on your back? Bro, you got scabies and holes and everything on your back. Hold on. I don't like that.
Zombies can't get in here, right? Right?
Don't make me wait.
And you better hope I don't either, motherfucker.
I was helping others out there. Look, no bites.
Shut your ass up talking to me. We'll be the judge. We will be the judge. I mean, you good, right? You got sexual reflex. Good. Or what? Nigga, sent that girl to camp.
You're a hero.
Move it.
Thank you. So tired.
Yeah. Yes, you are, Chloe. Let's see what we are. Who we got here? Sound like she got bit. Give me a bite. See. She might be good, see? I'm gonna send her through. Send her through, my boy.
See you on the other side.
Geez. 7 people died. Oh, no deaths.
Wake up! There are new reports that the virus has mutated. Playing tricks on us, cunning bastard. Snap out of it. It's not like this thing can think. A patrol ran into a girl. She calmly asked if they could escort her to safety. Next thing, she pounced on them. Took some muscle and lead to put her down. So keep your gun handy.
You better give me a gun. I'll tell you that right now. We got the gun.
You got yours too, huh? The Major's been on edge all day. Heard the guys had to shoot their own commander. Some girl tore her throat open. Creepy stuff. I'm done laughing at people who sleep with a gun under their pillow. Just be careful today, okay?
Please, I can't go back out there. No, you don't understand.
Come on.
You are in a quarantine zone. Stay calm and wait for your turn. Remove your outer clothing, hats, glasses, and gloves. Prepare your belongings for
I
inspection.
don't deserve this. I've lost everything. And now this?
Got the gun ready. You better chill out. You see, I done went full time. I done went full time. You better chill out.
of it.
What are you doing? Is this really necessary?
Jesus, it's alive! Not!
Having fun out there, huh? Hey, Georgetta.
T?
You didn't forget to hand the kid his new gadget, did you?
Hold up, T.
Or did all that shooting knock the memory out of your head?
Hey.
Sir, yes, sir. My mistake. Won't happen again. MRI machines used to take up a whole room. And now? Just look at this. You just need
good,
two
T.
hands.
You
What a
good,
time to
you
be
good, you
alive.
good.
The end of the world notwithstanding.
My dog said whoop ass is the only option.
If you experience any symptoms, report to the staff immediately. Any aggression toward personnel will not be tolerated. Offenders will be isolated.
Press the button, Lord have mercy.
Don't make me wait.
Are we done? Can I just go?
We get the X-ray now. Ooh. That was 1,000? Okay, yeah, that's what we... Close out that. That's when you close out there. Somebody had to go. I mean, somebody had to go. I need to make a montage of how many